very intelligent people up on top, and I don't know why the breakdown occurred, but there was no post-hostilities plan from my perspective, and we were left to invent one.
This administration began to admit we're probably not going to find these weapons, and all but came out and said they're non-existent. The mission changed. When the mission changed, I believed constitutionally that our Congress was responsible to issue a new sanction or a new declaration giving the President the authority to accomplish this new mission, which was to build a nation. However, there's a problem in that because our Constitution doesn't really call for nation building, and for good reason, because to do so would put us in every nation in the world at some point or another if we disagreed with how their government was being run.
We were to form democracy, which is an interesting piece of mission to be given, considering we were formed for a singular purpose, and that was to destroy our enemy.
I have the weapon. You back up, please. Shoot me. I'm not going to shoot you.
On the one hand, we have soldiers in the field trying to give a very clear picture back to their command and say, here's what we're dealing with, sir. Here's what we're facing. On the other hand, we have people in the states and politicians not perceiving things correctly, or worse, trying to manipulate the system. I saw that during the elections all around. I'm not pointing fingers at any particular political party. I think all became guilty at some point or another in trying to misuse the information coming back from the war to prove or disprove points that these pieces of information did not apply to.
For as long as the CIA has existed, for 50-some years, presidents, secretaries of defense, directors of Central Intelligence have valued the information sent back by their representative on the ground. And now somehow the reporting of the truth, which is, to put it bluntly, Iraq is going to hell, has become a political issue, as if our COS on the ground was trying to undermine President Bush. The agency's job is to present the good and the bad to the president, and to stop the kind of commentary from the right that's using the agency as a punching bag, as if somehow the truth could undermine the president. If it can, then the president has a problem. The agency doesn't have a problem.
You were to concentrate on forming, training, arming, and hiring police, focus on schools for the Hearts and Minds campaign, continue to seek insurgents and destroy them or capture them, continue to search for weapons of mass destruction. And in my area, we were near the Iranian border, so it was also secure the Iranian border, which was almost a Herculean task. I had 150 miles of Iranian border, and I had 150 men.
Iraqis and Iraqi children, you know, were on the side of the road. They were cheering, waving to us, you know, saying like a couple words they know in English, you know, George Bush, Michael Jackson, USA. You know, they were generally happy to see us.
I got 33 letters and emails from Brandon during his tour in Iraq. And he went into Baghdad. He was in the group of tanks that drove through Baghdad as the city fell. So he went in the middle of April and then went up to Tikrit, to Saddam's hometown, and that's where he moved in. And the first letters he wrote back, he wrote eloquently about how much he loved the Iraqi people. He figured we would have troops in Iraq for the foreseeable future, and he would like for his wife and 3 children to move over to Iraq and live with him, and he would like to be stationed there for 3 to 4 years with his family. In August of 2003, Brandon wrote that when he went out on patrols, children were throwing rocks at him, and it really surprised me. And it really sunk in that for the Iraqi people, April and May, they looked at us as liberators, but by August, we were occupiers.
Some people are saying insurgent, implying that these people have all come in from outside of Iraq. When I say an insurgency, I'm talking about an uprising within the country. Yes, there are people from without that are stirring up trouble. Yes, there are terrorists, and there are criminals, and there are Saddam dead-enders who are, in fact, part of this problem. But there's also a growing insurgency.
Like one man, for example, his brother was killed, his brother's wife was killed, and their 8 children. And after that, really, what do you have to live for?
What we're seeing on the ground are not just exported or imported fighters. We're seeing a growing number of homegrown people that have risen up from the local populace, and worse, are gaining the support of the local populace.
It doesn't matter if they're giving out candy and kissing babies all day. If you are occupied as a people, you must resist. I think it's inherently an American instinct. You know, try to occupy America, even if you're giving out televisions.
My son was killed on April 4th, 2004, the first day of the Shiite uprising. And he was killed in the first hand-to-hand battle that we had with the Shiites. And I believe the Shiites were the most oppressed under Saddam Hussein. So somewhere in the course of the war, the enemy changed, and my son was killed by the people we liberated.
The situation was changing so rapidly on the ground that rules of engagement were almost being changed, if not weekly, even more than that. One day warning shots were authorized, the next they weren't. In some areas warning shots were authorized in certain circumstances, but in other areas they weren't. The way road stops were handled. If they run through a checkpoint, they're confused, don't shoot at them. If they run through a checkpoint, they're an insurgent trying to blow you up. Anyone who's a poor driver, you know, in that country right now has to be held suspect. And if they don't understand a roadblock, they are probably going to be killed.